Hello everyone, I'm Tessa from the Spasojevic Lab, and we are a group of plant ecologists working on fundamental questions related to community assembly, predictive biogeography, and ecosystem functioning, all within a global change context. Marco Spasojevic, pictured on the left, is our PI. Jared, next to Marco, is the original grad student who's now a fourth-year PhD candidate. I am a third-year PhD student, and Aaron on the right is also a third-year PhD student. We also have numerous fantastic undergrads who help with research and help us all think more deeply about our work. So the overarching goal of our lab is to understand the causes and consequences of plant functional diversity. Over the past decade, our understanding of the processes driving patterns of biodiversity and how biodiversity influences ecosystem functioning has been enhanced by a focus on functional traits, which are basically characteristics linked to fitness that mediate plant responses to and their effects on the environment. So in pursuing this more mechanistic approach to understanding biodiversity patterns, we draw upon three primary bodies of research: community assembly theory, functional biogeography, and biodiversity and ecosystem function. We then use our insight into mechanisms governing plant functional diversity patterns to understand how vegetation is responding to ongoing climate change and disturbances, and to help refine predictions of what future ecosystems may look like. To pursue our goal, we use a combination of observational data, field experiments, as well as spatial modeling, all across a wide variety of ecosystems. So here in Southern California, we're working with the Smithsonian's Forest Global Earth Observatory Network to establish a long-term monitoring plot to assess forest health and changing patterns of biodiversity under altered climatic and disturbance regimes. Next to this site, we have established a water manipulation experiment to test how changing patterns of precipitation seasonality influence community assembly as well as ecosystem functioning. And also in Southern California, my own work is looking at long-term rain shifts and community reordering under 40 years of recent climate change. Across the entire Western US, Erin is using species distribution models that she's constructed with Forest Service data to model seedling and adult distributions and try and understand which species are showing either elevational or latitudinal shifts and how functional traits might be related. In Colorado, Marco and Jared have been studying the tundra plant communities to understand trait-based community assembly and changes in ecosystem functioning using both observational and experimental data. And while we use simple tools, often a tape measure and maybe some clippers, our work does provide some big insights. Jared's work is showing how community level traits in the alpine tundra are changing through time toward more stress tolerant strategies, which might be a response to drought and decreased snowpack. He's also uncovering mechanisms driving the biodiversity ecosystem function relationship and how these mechanisms change with drought. Aaron's modeling work is showing that the majority of species are shifting north in their latitudinal distributions, and these species all tend to have animal dispersal syndrome. So this is an important contribution in trait-based biogeography. Results from the precipitation manipulation project are showing that additional precipitation increases biomass only in the summer, while excluding precipitation reduces biomass in all seasons and more strongly reduces diversity in winter than in summer. So our results suggest that increased precipitation may have stronger short-term impacts on biodiversity and ecosystem functioning in warmer seasons, and decreasing precipitation will have negative effects across both seasons. My own research on range dynamics in Southern California has found substantial upward elevational range shifts over 40 years, with a substantial number of species shifting downward in their lower elevation range limits. And since we found that functional traits are predictive of these downward shifts, we can make better inference regarding the mechanisms involved, which might be more related to asymmetric warming of nighttime temperatures. So the take-home message is that you should never judge a scientist by their tools, since a tape measure and drying oven are still capable of answering cutting-edge questions in science. If you have any questions about our lab, or if you want to chat about our work, feel free to send myself or Marco an email listed up here. Thank you, everybody.